Hi there. Last day of holiday in Romania. Yeah, I was thinking to continue the video from where I left it last time, just before I fly back to UK, and to see how we can sort out the rest of those fillets around here, so that hey, I can be probably happy and have the feeling of accomplishing something interestingly professionally during my holiday. So where have we left it? Just to have a look and remind ourselves. So those surfaces in here curved, everything is curved around, and yes, and we were talking about how to make the fillets look quite all right, and how to adjust the rest of the shapes around here so that we get closer and closer to the final product, obviously with the exception of the top part, which would be part of a future video. So right, so if we look at the shape right now around here, let's say it looks okay, more or less okay. But what does not look okay, it is here. I want to have it fading away. So that's one thing that I wanted. And we need to do a couple of adjustments on this model. So first adjustment that we will need to do, in thinking, I don't like it to be on white, so I'm going to open this one to be on black. So on black background. So the first adjustment is those lines around there, or I said the lines, how the topology of the object is. So let's see which one would be the thing that is giving me that kind of shape. So I will I will go and disable the mirroring and the surface knit and all that kind of stuff, and I want to see maybe in the hidden objects. Yeah, I think this would be the surface. Let me get out of the hidden objects. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know how to see objects that are hidden in the back, right click outside the model or outside. Careful, if you have sketches, planes, or all that, you are not going to see it. So don't click on any of the objects. Click outside of any object that you have, and you will have show hidden bodies, and there you will see uh, you know the objects, the bodies, the surfaces that are hidden. Right, so now we are here on this surface, which should be a free form after an offset. So let's adjust that a little bit. Okay. Interestingly, Solidworks looks like, can we hide the original surface because we cannot see because of it? Mesh preview works. No, mesh preview is just to see the mesh on the modified surface. Interestingly, it doesn't look like we have anything in here to click on to hide the original surface. So we will have to deal with it as it is, unfortunately. That's a shame to have no option for that. And yes, in here we have also this. Let me see. Where are we with all these curves in here? Something similar to that. Let's see how it goes. So freeform free. Is it freeform free? Yes, it is freeform free. All right. So a bit better, but it has a little bit too much of that curve in there. So I'm going again to the freeform free, modify it, and I just tried to see if the surface is hidden initially, if you can see only the modified surface while you modify it, and bingo, it does work. So that's great. It means that we can preview the surface while we modify it because the original is hidden. That's good, because it's not nice to not be able to see what you modify. So here it is, another, let's say, tip. Hide the surface before you modify it with the freeform modifier, and it will stay, the original will stay hidden, so you will be able to see what you are modifying around here. So how else do we want all this to be? Yeah, I think something like this. Anyway, it's not going to be very precise, and I'm not going to want to spend a lot of time around it for this kind of stuff to do. At the end of the day, it's all just approximate. So okay, I think I'm fine with what I have in here. Alright, so that's that. One thing that we needed to have it solved. Okay. Just going to check again the surface after I'm making the surface neat. Okay. And it looks like, yeah, here at the top is not quite what we want. So freeform free again. And let's try to make things a little bit better there at the top as well. So it's a bit too curved, or it's a bit too much onto the top. So I'm just dragging it more in here. I think I could actually even move it completely. Triads follow selection, that's good, but I want it to be global. Yes, there you go. So being global, I can have them oriented all the time in the same way. That's what I was searching in there, to have them like that. Okay. And since I am here, I do want to see to adjust just a little bit this surface in here as well. So I think I can really move this completely. Yeah. And now move this even more. This as well. I could at the end of the day just create curves and cut the surface rather than fiddling with this freeform thing. But yeah, you don't know initially until you try, and then you realize, oh, I could do it differently. So I'm not going to go back now. I will just finish it as it is, and maybe a good lesson for next time. Using curves, I don't like from a different perspective to use the curves like that, but anyway, let's say that it is something similar to this, which is not necessarily how I like it completely, but it gets closer. Now what I don't like is that the quality of the surface is off, or it looks like this. So I'm going into options and I want to verify that the image quality is it's to maximum. Okay, so it is, that's good. But then draft quality, if I'm activating, deactivating, not sure if it's going to give us anything. Yeah, well, when everything is shiny, everything looks kind of perfect, but that's not quite the reality, is it? So let's introduce some shadows and yeah, leave it like that. Okay, let's try to get rid of, to try to understand what's happening in here with these fillets, right? So at the first glance, nothing seems wrong with them, despite something does look off. You don't know what is that thing that looks off, right? But if you look here onto this, from this view, for example, you will see that it's not quite round, right? It's kind of round, but then having a depression and then going back round. So that is what is making it being the way it is. Now, a few ways to deal with this kind of stuff. Maybe in such a way so that you can control it better. One way was to, when I show you the curves, to use the curves, adjust them, and combine the surfaces. It's just that, yeah, here where we have, let's say, this transition is doing that kind of weird thing. So if I'm going to the boundary, and if I, okay, so we have the curvature, but somehow right now we don't have the sliders. Yeah, because we don't have sliders here, it's just that. Okay. Okay. So if I'm clearing the selection, for example, I should see it done as it should, as it should look, done perfectly. And of course, if I would adjust these handles to adjust the curvature of the surface, it would be more or less getting closer to what we need. So if I click OK now and just look at the model, and there you go. It looks far, far better, as we should expect to look like, really, given that, oh, my bad, I lost the surface, given that, you know, at the end of the day, it should be all round and nice. But we don't want that. We want them to be joined, not separately. So one of the solution would be to reverse so the boundary, to reverse the curves that are creating the boundary. And here, for example, we could try between, up, I said, clear selections, yes, to try between this edge and this edge, but in curvature, and then to use those edges here, those curves that I use to cut the surface as guides, right? So if I'm going in here into direction 2, and if I'm selecting them, for example, and if I'm selecting them again in curvature and again in curvature, it will give me probably a warning somewhere because something is not matching, of course. But are we getting closer to what we need? Okay, not necessarily. All right, so no. Well, if we are in this kind of situations where it's quite hard to control them, and especially now that we have these lines in here done in the way that they are, there is still one more solution. But before going to that one, I do want to adjust this surface that I got, that I was having in the past, and increase the area that is cut here in the front, so that I'm helping that fillet fill nicely. So I'm already stretching quite a lot of these tangent handles, right? So maybe now the time has finally come to introduce a second, an edge right in the middle and adjust that edge, right? Because I'm quite losing the time quite often trying to adjust that when I could just introduce this edge here and adjust this one, really moving it around, right? So let's see. Yes, so we said we want something like this, right? No, that's wrong. I selected the wrong handles. There. So I'm going to do that to help myself a little bit and getting closer to what I want. And here, yeah, that's it. I don't have a tangent handle anymore, of course. But yeah, in the middle should be just fine. And then if I am selecting this, and okay, so it starts to move weirdly around. So I will be forced to use the arrows instead of that thing. Okay, that's fine. We can do that, not a problem. What else do I want? Still getting closer here. Okay. And now I can even force it even more. Something like that. Okay. And yeah, it's still getting the same thing all over again, no matter what I adjust, isn't it? So I still need more on that side, on that edge, so I'm going to move it more. Of course, now it's not going to make it anymore. And I'm kind of destroying it on other sides. So let's adjust it in such a way so that on this side I'm having this in closer to the mid plane. I'm going to extend these surfaces a bit more. At the end of the day, I'm just cutting with them, not doing anything else than that. So maybe something like that. Let's see again. How does it look like? Of course, bad. Just doing a Control Z because at the end of the day, I don't like it. Right. So what can we do to cut these things nicely without using a boundary surface that is so large? Because it makes things a bit difficult to understand how to cut them, isn't it? So we have a surface trimming here, we have the fillets, and then yes, we have the surface extensions in there. That's okay. Untrim. Okay. And okay, whatever. And then we have the weird surface in here to cut the big lump in here. Okay. So how can we cut it in such a way so that we have a bit more control on it? Let me see. Uh, I could use splines, definitely. Offset and splines. Let's see how the offset looks like. So if I'm canceling the freeform in here, okay, so the offset looks like that. Is it an offset of what? Of face 1. Okay. I think it's one of the extrudes, isn't it? Or maybe I should have yeah, surface extrude 1 indeed. It is in here. No, side original surface, got it. Yes. Okay, so we have this offset that is controlling the cut in there. And then we had a freeform that doesn't look like we want to use to cut the surface because we don't have enough control. So that means that this surface of the offset in here should be quite all right to use it as an intersection in a sketch and then use curves to cut the model as we need. Now we have a freeform in here to cut the model that we used before. So we will have to give up on that freeform. Now, knowing that I'm just cutting the things off and I didn't go too far, I can just delete the freeform. And of course, at some point, Solidworks will tell me that, you have some things that don't necessarily work. Oh no, that's brilliant. It got already the offset. That's good. That's good. So it got the offset instead of the deformed surface that we had earlier. So what we need to do now is, well, we will need to cut this surface with a curve created by intersecting the blue surface that we have in here. So let's do exactly that. Let's see, where do we have the surface trim? The original one. I think it was this one, isn't it? Let's see. I think, yeah. This one or this one, yes, it's this one. That's great. Okay, awesome. So it is this one in here. We can hide the original one. Okay. We can go up, not doing the trim. So right now all these are deactivated in here, right? We can do a 3D sketch and we should have intersection. Bear with me, this is the laptop I have, so it's a little bit different than what I have at home. So I should have into my sketch stuff an intersection. If not, we will need to search for the panel. Convert entities, intersection curve. Good, 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 good. So I need an intersection. For example, we're not even intersection, as this surface doesn't look very good. So what I need will be an offset on surface, isn't it? Yeah, so let's use the offset on surface. So I want this offset at, let's say, 2 millimeters here initially. Okay, let's see if he works with more than one edge. No, it doesn't. Okay, fine. Then another offset on surface. Hmm, I'm just thinking, how do I want to actually do it? Do I want to combine them? Do I want to make the fillets? How do I want? Yes, I do want to make the fillets chair. So again, offset on surface, this and this. Huh. Fine, it doesn't let me select twice. Okay, SolidWorks, let's get it for the same dimension. If you don't want it like that, then fine. We'll do it twice. And here I may want more than two. Let's see, let's say three. Sometimes it works in SolidWorks to select more than one edge. So despite these ones are all tangent and all fine and joined together, he still wants me to do another click on the function, select the edge and all that, but fine. So, so now we have two offsets from the middle plane in here. Let me hide the surface offset 1. We don't need that anymore. We don't want to cut the model like that. It gives us quite a few problems and challenges. So now I'm going to create a spline on surface, starting in the point here on the first spline. I insert the point and I go into the offset, the second offset that we did, the second offset in on surface, right? So it's telling me that it's over constrained, probably because either it's coincident there on the in the point, but also on the plane. So let's delete the coincidence on plane. And as usual, it doesn't let you do that. But I do want to have it tangent. Just checking to see if he got the tangent. He did. That's great. And now between these two curves, I do want them to be tangent. And again, it will start saying that he's over constrained. So somewhere he will not like some bits. Most probably because this one as well is tangent and that one shouldn't be tangent. Okay, so one tangency didn't get it right. Again, all right. So it should let me modify things around. Up. Okay. And of course, in that direction, with all the tangent points that we have around, it will say that he doesn't like some things. Rebuild and save document. Okay, rebuild it. Okay, so we constructed the curve in here, which, by the way, you know, you can always go into the 3D sketch and it should always be all right. So we have, for example, the offset in here being 2 and the offset in here being 3. So I can always come here and say 5. Of course, it's doing it only for 1 and they should be linked together. Yeah, of course, this is extending it like that. So no, I don't want that. But I do want to be able to modify them afterwards. So maybe not on the surface as a curve, because afterwards I can always say I want it on surface. And it should go on surface. There you go. Yeah, of course. Yeah, a bit tricky with the splines, but at least SolidWorks does have spline on surface, which is something that I did search to have in in a software like this, not having splines on surface, even if they're not so, if even if they are not the most intuitive ways of constructing them and all that, is still better than not having it and using projections. It's very hard sometimes to use projections so that you can just put some splines on a surface to cut it. Okay, so I'm going to delete the coincidence in there in case, or at the end of the day, if it is over constrained, is it going to not let me do it? Let's see. No, but it's not going to get it if it is over constrained. So what can I do to so I do want to be able to move it, but equally I don't want. Okay, let's delete this one in here. Okay, tangent and tangent, so that's over-defined. Fine. Can you do something so that it's not over-defined anymore, SolidWorks? Anything? No? But it's not going to. No. It is not going to let me delete the on surface parameter of this spline. Interesting. Okay, fine. I don't want to wait for longer, so I'm going to delete the constraints that I have in here for being in point, and not even with that, it still doesn't like something. Doesn't like the tangents. So weird. Okay, but after I delete them and say I want to be tangent, surprise, it does work. Okay, that's a weird one. Fine, I can always delete the tangents and put them back. Okay, maybe I did something and I didn't realize. It's a little bit late here as well, so I'm a little bit tired too. So now if I'm modifying this and I say, okay, now it's 3 millimeters, but now I want 5 millimeters. Yeah, it's not going to follow the point that I have in here. Of course, it is okay. So it is tangent, it is coincident with this line, not with that line. All right, I understand. So there is a solution for that. Let's try it. So for example, we have two curves. Yes, indeed, and it's only normal if you think about for SolidWorks to understand in this point where it should be. So if I'm putting this point in here and this point in here and somewhere on the curve, but not in the point itself, right? If I'm moving it right now, I remember SolidWorks is detecting it as coincident in that point. Still not. Okay. All right. Too much work for just a spline. So I want a coincident with that. I want it on the plane. I want a coincident with that, which is fine. Yes, it's over constrained. So I don't want it to be coincident on that edge, but I want it on the other one, on the other stuff. So fine. It looks like sometimes it's detecting, it's adding two constraints. For example, one on the edge, one on the curve. So that's fine. Let's put it on to be tangent, and now it will say, yeah, but you know, it's over constraint and all that. But still, I do want it to be tangent. Ah, yeah. And I don't want to be coincident on this edge. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that tangency there. Huh. Okay, let's try with something else. Instead of that, we will try like this straight away without having a point in the middle. Of course, coincident again. Okay, let's delete that. Okay. Wow. Over constraint and items in conflict. Because I just want it to be tangent. Okay, that's not nice. That is not nice. Yeah, it doesn't matter if I make it for construction or not. Okay. Diagnose manual repair. Interestingly, let's see if I'm doing diagnose and manual repair after I'm applying the tangency between the two, but I do want to have the line with one point in the middle because that's what I wanted. Right, so let's put this one in here, let's put this one in here, let's put it in tangent as I wanted it. And then let's click to diagnose. Is it at least clever enough to diagnose it and to see what is going to do? Diagnose. Okay, so we have one pointing coincidence in here. So select the desired solution and press accept. Accepting will delete the following relations. The coincidence and all that, or okay, so I have, okay, so it is identifying two coincident points for which this is over constraint. And if I say accept for the case number 2, the sketch contains invalid geometry. Okay, if I press OK, still nothing. Okay, diagnose again, and he doesn't want that tangent. Okay, accept. Yeah, so he doesn't like the tangent that is in there. For some reasons, is just doesn't like to do it. Okay, can we do something about it then? Apart from keep trying to add a tangent and for the software to say that is we are not allowed to do so. Okay, so adding it in tangent and then deleting the coincidence in there looks like it does it. Fine. That is very weird to have so much headaches for just making some tangent curves on the surface. Bad, very, very bad. Solidworks, I don't know what you're doing, but that's not good. Now, let's go into this trim that we were using before we were using a surface to trim it off, right? And instead of the trim tool to be an offset, let's clear it and let's select the curve and then keep selection, or maybe remove selection. Should work. Come on. I said keep selections, selection, Okay, maybe split all. Is it the curve that is not staying on the surface? What's going on? Huh. Okay, so again, is it maybe because of something that is it something that is not touching the surface? Or is it because it works only with surfaces and this is not a surface anymore? Or originally wasn't a surface. Okay, let's see. So if I go back to trim surface and I say trim tool, this one, yep. So it's not working anymore, or maybe it wasn't working even before, to trim it with a curve. So no split all or anything like that. Is it an entire sketch? Is it something that is open in the sketch right now? Okay, it's not like we don't have solutions for it, but it shouldn't be so hard to cut the surface with a curve. We can always sweep it and then cut it, but that will introduce a new operation. Oh, and I lost it because it lost where I wanted to rotate around. Okay, let's see. Should I do that or should I still try with the sketch? Am I still in the sketch? No, I'm not. But it looks like I am. Features. By the way, toolbars, I do want to have the surface. No, I do have a surface, it's fine. And it should be here. Maybe tabs. I do want to have surfaces. Yes, I want to have surfaces and direct editing was useful. Okay. All right, so what can we do about this then? Well, one solution is, despite it's not very nice that I cannot use the curve, and now I can see why I cannot use the curve, because it's not blending anymore from one point to another. Right, so this curve should be coincident in there, but doesn't look like it is anymore. And this one equally doesn't look like it is anymore. But it could also be a matter of not seeing it, of the precision of showing it. So let's try it then differently by adding a line between these 2 points, closing the surface off, and making a fill of the surface itself. If this software has a fill, it should have. Yes, it does. Good. So I'm making a fill of the surface, and now we will see if that curve was all right. Okay, so the curve was not all right, and that's why it didn't let me cut it either. So going back to the sketch, I'm going to delete this because I'm sure that the offsets in here are actually done correctly. So then What is there to do? Maybe a curve without a point in the middle and put it in tangency here and here, but not on the surface. And being in tangent, the surface should be cut anyway. That can be a solution. And here, if I have 3 millimeters and I go towards 5, for example, come on, Solidworks, 5 millimeters. Yes, the curve will follow. Okay, starts to say that it doesn't like things, but at least will follow. So that's great. Okay, so let's go back and let's go to this surface trim, and again, let's use the curve to cut the surface. Will it work? I should. It's cutting different surfaces now. Okay, so then if you're cutting different surfaces, how about we hide them and go back to the other trim that we had. Yeah, it is identifying the sketch, but it doesn't want to just cut this surface at all. If I am on split all, okay. So sometimes because the curves are not quite right or intersecting the surfaces correctly, I honestly wouldn't expect a curve that is created by an offset on the surface to not intersect correctly the surface so that I can cut it afterwards. So that's a very weird thing. So, and I know that if I'm doing this next time when I'm modifying this curve, I'm not going to get the same, you know, the same kind of pattern of behavior anymore. So I don't like this because I know I need to adjust this model afterwards. So what I'm going to do, I am going to sweep the surface completely. Sweep and against us on a surface, something that can give me a wall, not a loft. It should be sweep. Oh, no. Ruled, yes. So this one would be the ruled surface. But I need an edge, so I cannot do it. I just need an edge. So I cannot make a ruled surface which will be, let's say, perpendicular to the original surface unless I cut it. And I cannot cut it because some of the curves that I have in here are not quite touching the surface all the way so that I can cut the surface, right? So what I'm going to do this time, because I solved this curve that I have in here, I am finally connect those there, close the surface, where is it? And then use the resulting surface or even the extension of it to finally, I am extending it just to be sure that I will always be able to cut it in any situation, right? And then I can finally, um, cut the other object, right? So can I use the sketch from my surface fill to actually extend surface fill? No, I need to select the edges. Again, a bit bad, a bit not nice, but let's select edges. And luckily it does select them in continuity. And then same surface, linear. I want them, I should be fine with linear, but it doesn't really make it linear correctly. Okay, 4 millimeters, that's fine. Yeah, something is quite weird here. I shouldn't have this kind of stuff. Fine. At the end of the day, it is how it is. So if I'm selecting them all linear, they are all linear, I should still see them. Yeah, unless they are same surface. Okay. I wouldn't expect to have such issues to extend some edges and stuff like that. There you go. And now this is the result after I'm extending them. Another weird thing. Okay. I don't like that either. Now, being a closed surface, it should work right away. I may worry I may worry for nothing. So let's try the surface as it is. And yes, there you go. Now it does recognize it, despite coming from the same curves and all that. It does recognize it as cutting the whole object all the way. Don't know why it is like that. Don't know why Dassault is thinking to do it like this, to do the programming of the software. Have no clue. But anyway, now it's solved. Okay, so now we had the other surface trim in here. Let's see, why is it hidden? Because somewhere an original surface was hidden. Let's see, it should be this one, isn't it? Exit. Yes, so we have this one that is also cut in here. And then, of course, we will have the boundary surfaces that we will need to reconstruct. Yes, except that I don't know anymore which boundary surface was for which. So let's try to identify that. Ah, okay, so at least I can see the edges in here. That's great. So let's see. Between that and that, that's fine. And I want to flip the connectors. Okay. Error edge. Let's delete that. The edge in error. Still curvature on that surface. Okay, so here I want that and that. Fine. So now I'm okay with it. Okay. Next one. Just checking the time to see how much is left. Okay, not much. So this should work a bit better. Should be after we finish this video, we should arrive to a good position of what we need to achieve. Yeah, I was adjusting the handles in there. Okay, next boundary surface. Okay, so it's this one. I don't want this error edged in there. Okay, fine. Let's say I want something similar to that. Now, this edge being a little bit more uh, controlled, I should be able to control this fillet in here at the corner a bit better. So next boundary surface, yes, of course I have this one in here. So this error, edge in error, replacing it with this one. Okay, for now I'm leaving it like that, just to arrive at the end. So there you go, now it's replaced. We have the extensions in there, and yeah, that one is wrong. So I said I want to extend it. Something got terribly wrong in there. So can I say maybe 1 millimeter? Okay. No. If I choose linear, of course, it will do something similar to that, but I don't want to have it in linear. I want to have it in the same surface. And I want to have it like 1 millimeter. Yeah. Definitely not the way to go, isn't it? And of course, it's coming from these guys in there. So if I say 1 in here, and if I say on this one, still 1. No. Okay, amazing. So I'm still having it, the extension, the way it is. Okay. Fine. You don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Let's do it again. So if I'm applying the same extension, yes, of course. So that means not the extension was the problem, just pressing Ctrl Z to see if I can actually do something about it. Since that wasn't the problem, let's adjust this. Now, if I'm doing this, of course, in here, it should go better. Wow, okay, it's reversing everything. This is all terribly wrong. So something didn't work in here. Okay. Why is that? Let's see. Yes, it is applied to all, in line with other geometry. Okay, so the surface that is resulting is twisted, and that's the reason why it does it. Okay, align with next section, leave it like that. But yeah, it does create an ugly twist right here, and because of it, it is going to create that kind of a weird face extension in there. Well, at the end of the day, at the bottom I can sacrifice and I can leave it in tangency rather than curvature. But it still looks like it does it. Despite all that. We can always cut it without the extension. Okay. Yeah, let's cut the extension in here and continue without error. And now we have this surface trim, which of course doesn't want to work because I have the curve in here that doesn't work anymore. So let's see if we can do anything. If you hear some kids around, by the way, my windows are open and we have some kids around that are just playing. So that's the reason why all the noise and all that. Okay, so I use that curve now to trim the surface. Okay, so remove or keep selections. Let's go in here. Let's see. Or remove selections and no. Okay, so no. Why no? What is wrong? Okay. I shouldn't have an issue with all this. Okay, let's cut the surface extensions and put the curves on those surfaces to have them a little bit more controlled, but still. Okay. Right, so that's how it is sometimes. Things are weird and don't work. So workarounds are needed. So if I'm getting again this surface in here, I shouldn't have any problems with it. I shouldn't have a weird extension. If I'm extending this in here, again, I shouldn't. I need to have it extended in same surface. And despite it's in the same surface, yeah, it looks like this. Okay. Okay, Solidworks, we will have to find a different solution because this is not what we need. So the surface extensions are falling around for some reason, and this surface extension here is terrible. What can we actually do to have all this nicely done? If extending the surfaces doesn't work, well, I can always do what I didn't like to do from the beginning, which is aligning this to a point where the surfaces are not twisted anymore. But I didn't want to lose the time. But it looks like I'm forced to lose the time. So without cutting them, because it looks like surface extension is not so stable, I'm going to remove the surface extensions from here and remove the curves as well and the trims, right? So this and this, going to remove them. Of course, it will say the 3D sketches are not good anymore and all that. Fine, I don't care. And then going in here, adjust those to look as I want them to look, a bit more straight, rather than having that kind of a curved surface in there. And here we will need to work a little bit more, right? So we will have to convert the edges into splines, right? Not in there. Okay, so I need to make a 3D sketch and get the edge in here and convert those into edges. There you go. Now they are way black. Drag the point here until on the curve until is in coincidence in there. and it should detect the coincidence. Aha. It doesn't detect the coincidence because the surfaces are not joined. So I need to make the join, and after that convert the entities to be sure that is getting the entities correctly, which fine. Now I don't need it because I just joined it anyway. So fine, convert entities in here. Oh, I need to be in a 3D sketch and convert the entities. Okay. And I will put 2 different sketches and do the same thing, selecting them with control. Okay. Get out of the sketches, and now doing again boundary surface, right? So between this surface in here, which I do want it in curvature, and this edge in there, which I do want it in curvature, but using those 2 sketches that I had before. Now, when you get to select sketches, it will select individual segments of the sketch. Sometimes, this time it did get it right. So this sketch and this sketch. Okay. So now finally it got it. Now let's see, maybe a tangency to surface and not direction. Well, I should have a tangency to surface too, but I have none. Okay, let's try. Missing vector, of course it does. So maybe something like this. But it will create a seam in there. However, it starts to be as a lot more controllable. So it is something that I'm expecting to have, and that should work. But because it is the way it is, there is one more solution, right? Which would be make a spline right in the middle to control how the surfaces are joined together, or if I am going between this one in here, this edge in here, and this edge in here, put them both in curvature, and then using the other edges as a guide, it may work, or it should, and it did. So sometimes it goes the other way around, right? But still, I don't like what I see. So I might ask too much from the surface to do. Okay, so that means if I am going to create on different sections, I can do that too. So flip connectors, and I can get, from closer to closer rather than, yeah. But then I may have different curvatures on those surfaces, and I will be forced to put them at 1, and when I do so, I am not sure if it will look as it should. But let's try. Yeah, you see? this, there, and there. Okay. All right. Not nice. Last resort. And if it doesn't work, then that's bad. We'll have to find something different. Not sure if whatever we will find will be good enough so that we don't remake the whole model. So curvature and curvature, so that it goes like this. But then I'm not filling it completely so that I don't have those kind of weird surfaces around. And only then I will try to make the rest. But yeah, this comes from a fillet, while now I am trying to match somehow something that is not coming from a fillet. So that's the reason why things are not going as expected, especially that I'm using these tangency handles around. So I may be in the end forced to create curves, additional curves around to control how this goes from one side to another, which is a thing that I don't like. It's a lot more work for doing all this, right? But we can try it now and we can see how it goes. After I'm going to fill the surface, we should go easier, right? Don't want it in contact, I want everything in curvature. Yeah, it looks alright, but then does not look alright. So most probably I will be forced to create something right in the middle and then join them like that. Let's try again. So between this and this. And of course it doesn't let me like that, so I have to probably adjust the, I will adjust the sketch afterwards. But from there to there, that's fine. And then let's see how it goes in these areas. So if I'm doing something like that and something like that in here and flip the connectors, yeah, of course it will look like this. Yeah, so go back to the sketch that I was using to define this area there at the bottom, and I will delete some of the elements because I don't need it to be that big, right? Just to allow me to do to have a different coverage in here at the bottom. We'll do it right until here in the middle. So that I control what I have there in the middle to look all right, and then I will fill it on the sides to look as it should look. Right, so I have two options to do that. I can join the model, join knit, use the knit surface so that it will identify only the edges that I have in here. Oh, there you go, knit surface, but it didn't get it completely right. So I did select them all, but it's still saying that it is something there as a gap, and it is a gap of a 5.9. Okay. So show gaps in range, fine. So I'm still having a gap in there. No, I don't want to keep that gap. Knitting tolerance. Okay, let's increase the tolerance of the knitting of that. Okay, good. So we got it. And now, well, now it's late, so I could just go and really fill them up, because we will have to, at the end of the day, we will have to adjust in the future. So I could, for now, I'm not going to keep them forever like that, but I could just fill them up. For you, it may be sufficient. For me, it's not it's not a very good solution to just use fill for this kind of surfaces, but it's not going to be too bad. So I said that I want to be in, yeah, I will leave it like that in curvature in there, and apply to all edges curvature still. And yes, it will show me, well, there you go, there are quite some issues in there. And now those issues should be easily adjustable by adjusting those sections in which we use to create this join right there in the middle. So by adjusting this, we shouldn't have those problems anymore. And we don't. So okay, this is a little bit better in the way it looks. I still can see in the shadow some bits in here which I don't like, but now we can go on this area and we can adjust this curve in here, this handle in there for the curvature, so that it's a little bit round, more round than usual. And now, yeah, now it looks far better. So now if I am going and do the surface knit, and let's see what the surface knit says. Ah, yes, I need to select those two as well. And I am doing the surface trim, which, let's do it again by selecting the remove surfaces. There you go. And now if I am going in here and do the surface knit and all that, we should finally have what we need, which is this. That looks a lot better, a lot more control into it. And yeah, next time we will continue with it, and to improve this model, and how from what it is right now, to see if we can control even better those transitions in here, maybe in a different way, maybe using some curves. We shall see, but for now, at least it looks more or closer to what I need. And yeah, I hope you like what you're seeing and it is useful for you. And stay tuned. Please like and subscribe. And I hope I will see you back again next time. Enjoy your evening. Bye bye.